Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. It seems I have a little problem with my 2006 F-150 that, according to certain videos I've seen on YouTube, can be common and frustrating. Let me show you. Keep an eye on this parking brake light as I release the brake. During really hot weather, the light comes on and goes off on its own. Maybe I have a weak return spring, so let's try pulling up on the pedal with my hand and with my toe while releasing the brake lever. And the light is still on. What gives? Well, here's a hint. It's not a problem with the pedal release switch. The hot weather is causing a broken connection to be temporarily reestablished. Let me show you where it is and how to fix it, so let's get after it. This problem is more easily diagnosed by removing just two dash panels. I have an electric brake controller blocking the left-hand screw on that bottom panel. Since you probably won't have this issue, I'll speed through the removal of the 4 screws here. Now I have access to the screw on the left lower panel. To prevent damage, I'm using a plastic removal tool and just prying upward on either side of these panel clips. The panel is set out of harm's way. The upper panel needs these screws removed on either side near the bottom. Unlock and move your adjustable steering wheel to its lowest position for maximum accessibility. Then, using the pry tool, pry the bottom of the panel up to the air vent hole. Do this on both sides. The 3 clips on the upper panel get released by pulling backwards on the panel like this. Carefully work the panel loose and up over the steering wheel and set it aside. Now we have access to the top left corner of this green circuit board. If your issue is just like mine, you should be able to grasp and gently push and pull the corner of the circuit board backward and forwards, causing the brake light to blink. Do this with the switch on or the engine running. Now that we have a diagnosis, let's fix it. Begin by removing the electrical connection at the top left of the instrument panel. Press downward on the clip in the center and forward on the gray-colored lever. Repeat for the electrical connection on the top right. You may note your interior lights will go out during this step. 4 screws are removed in no particular order, starting at the top left, the bottom left, top right, and bottom right. The console can now be removed save for the gear selector mechanism. Some folks have shown the removal of this mechanism the hard way, but let me show you an easy way using a spare console I have. If you were to remove the console and the gear selector and cable like I have here, it would require disassembly of the steering column, but there's no need for that. Here on the left side and on the right are plastic arms that, when depressed inward, will release the gear selector mechanism from the console. Observe. Circled here are those 2 arms. To reinstall the gear selector mechanism, just slide it back into place on its rails inside the console until you hear it click on both sides. Having depressed those arms shown earlier, the gear selector is dropped down and console removed. Disassembly of the instrument panel begins with the removal of these 7 screws which hold on the plastic protective cover. The acrylic face cover is removed by carefully lifting these 6 tabs. Note that once this cover is removed, the only thing holding the 2 instrument panel halves together is the needles on the gauges and speedometer. Before removal of the gauge needles, I'm going to mark their position using painter's tape. Note that I am gently pressing counterclockwise on each needle as I place the tape into position prior to marking the needle's location on the painter's tape. This gentle pressure ensures each needle is in a full over locked and marked position prior to removal. I'm using a couple of those plastic panel removal tools again and prying up under each needle assembly. As you will see, a couple of these needles actually fall apart during removal. There are 3 parts to each needle: the needle itself, the cap, and the shaft. Now the cap came off this one, but can be snapped back on. Whereas this assembly came totally apart into 3 pieces. Try to avoid the temptation to use pliers to remove these needles. The 2 instrument panel halves can now be separated. Note the odometer reset stalk is just freestanding on the circuit board, unattached to anything. We really need to focus on the male pins associated with the information display. Let's get a closer look at these 6 pins. We will give more attention to these on reassembly, but extreme care needs to be taken with this part. These pins can easily miss their mark and become bent or broken during reassembly, causing your information display to malfunction. The odometer reset stalk is picked up and placed back into the front half of the instrument panel for safekeeping. With the front of the circuit board now exposed, we can address the source of our problem here next to the fuel gauge stepper motor. By all accounts, the resistor numbered 821 is the culprit, and all we want to do is bolster the connection by reflowing the solder on each side of the resistor. But during the fix on the right side, you can see the entire resistor move, proving the left side connection was totally broken, and this was the problem. Now I'm going to need to take the needle nose pliers and straighten the resistor while reheating the right side, and then adding some new solder to the left side. Only use as much heat as is necessary. To test the fix, reinstall just the circuit board like this. Looks like we're good to go, so remove the circuit board and prepare for reassembly. While rejoining the two halves, matching up the legs of the informational display to the circuit board receptacle is so important that I've prepared this oversized model for you. Never before have I taken so much time and effort to ensure you don't make the same mistakes I did during reassembly. This model represents an oversized cross-section of the back of the instrument panel, specifically the lower right section containing the informational display as indicated by the 6 pins shown here. Incorrect assembly can result in the display not functioning properly or at all. I have imitated that mating surface by placing it on a stick for ease of video demonstration. As you can see, the 6 female slots have been accounted for. Just as in this video insert, this is the manner in which the two halves will mate together. The problem is you won't have the benefit of a cutaway blown up model. The only area in which you will be able to view the mating surfaces will be through these dark slots molded into the side of the instrument panel. Now maybe you can use some sunlight or a flashlight, but viewing through these slots is difficult. A close-up reveals how the pins on the back of the display should fit into the circuit board receptacle. Using proper lighting, you should be able to see the mating pins through these slots, but you will only be able to see the front side. If I take you on a tour of the back side, you will see that, in my example, the circuit board and mating surface is correctly seated. Why do I say that? Because all the pins are in place and no pins are visible. One of the things that can happen is shown next. The mating surface is once again dropped into place, and looking through the slots front on indicates all is well. All these pins looked well aligned and secured. But once again, if we take the tour around to the back side, we see a different view altogether. We have missed insertion of all the pins. Without careful visual affirmation during mating of the two halves, this may easily happen to you. What else? Well, there's this. Once again, all looks good through the slots. Alas, a pin has been misplaced and bent backwards. If this occurs, straightening this pin should be performed with great care, as breakage will mean you will lose the use of the informational display. Our mocked-up mating block has now been attached to this green makeshift circuit board, and just as the inset shows, our job is to join the two halves by inserting the display pins into the circuit board receptacle. It took me 4 attempts and a lot of grief to get the pins seated correctly while performing this step on the real instrument panel. My advice to you once you get the two halves mated is to screw down the corners of the backside, plug it up and test it. Make sure all of your lights as well as the display are working before continuing. Begin to attach the instrument needles by first gently setting each needle back onto its respective stepper motor pin and gently spinning counterclockwise. This step should zero out any extraneous movement of the pin during disassembly. After a couple of rotations, stop when the tip of the needle is in line with the witness mark and gently press into place. If the tip of the needle goes past the mark, spin the needle counterclockwise again until the tip lines up with the mark, then press into place. Avoid pressing down so hard that the needle jams against the face of the panel, thereby locking it into place where it cannot move. Shown here is the needle which came apart into 3 pieces. The red needle with its 2 female receptacles, the hollow hood, and the stalk with its 2 male receptacles, of which I'm going to apply some slow setting glue. The notch in the stalk is turned opposite to the tip of the needle, and the two halves pressed and held together. The notch in the hood straddles the needle, and the rim is pressed onto the base of the stalk. Be sure before the glue dries that the needle is set at a 90-degree angle to the stalk. Shown one last time is how the opening for the instrument light to show through is opposite to the tip of the needle. Now this last needle is mounted to the stepper motor pin, rotated, and pressed into place. All the painter's tape is gently removed from the face. The acrylic cover has been cleaned with a lint-free cloth and is pressed back into place over the clips, being careful to route the odometer reset stalk through the opening. Now would be a good time to replace any burned out instrument panel bulbs shown here. The plastic circuit board cover is screwed back into place, taking note not to over-tighten the screws. A powered screwdriver or impact wrench is not recommended for this step. The gear selection indicator is slid back into place until it clicks, and the left and right electrical connections are reattached. Note that when the right side connection is reestablished, you will hear a clicking and see certain instrument needles bounce for 10 seconds. I believe these are the stepper motors re-indexing the needles, but I'm open for comments as to why this occurs. The screws are reattached at the four corners of the instrument panel. And the three clips in the upper plastic panel are inserted into the respective holes and pressed inward, like this. The tilt wheel is raised, and the screws in each bottom corner inserted and tightened. The clips in the bottom plastic panel are inserted into their respective holes, pressed inward, and the bottom attached via its two screws. In my case, the electric brake module is remounted. One last test is initiated with the truck running, including all the lights, gas gauge, alternator, water temp although it's cold, oil pressure indicator, and informational display. Of course, you can see that our brake light is now off. In addition, don't forget to test your shifter indicator movement, and this job is complete.